Hello, friend. What's going on, everyone? So, Mr. Robot was a show that came out in 2015 and ended in 2019. This is my best attempt at being Elliot Alderson. I don't have a black hoodie, believe it or not. And so if you haven't seen the show, you're probably very confused. But in that case, if you haven't seen the show, let me just explain. So, as I mentioned, the years that it came out, it was 4 seasons long, 45 episodes on USA Network, and it follows Elliot Alderson. Elliot Alderson is a brilliant cybersecurity engineer, and that's during the day. During the night, he's a vigilante who becomes a key figure in a complex game of global dominance. This is a show I first heard about in late 2016. That's actually when I first started watching it too, through a recommendation of a friend. Good friend. Shout out to you, John. Before I talk about my relationship with Mr. Robot, the show, I wanted to first talk about the positives. So with the show, the cast is incredible. They all give it their incredible all. It's really outstanding to see these actors play these characters to the best of their ability, and also to see the writing and tone really match that. I mean, you have such memorable characters as Elliot Alderson, Mr. Robot, obviously Darlene, Tyrell Wellick, Angela Moss, Dominique, and White Rose. There are many other characters as well, but that's just it. There's so many characters, but you understand their motivations. You know, these are characters that aren't black and white. Recently on my channel, I had someone, talk about how characters are, necessarily have to be likable for you to find them interesting. I personally disagree with that. I personally really like characters that aren't black and white, that are gray and might not necessarily be likable in the standards that the average person would have. And I feel like these characters aren't necessarily those kind of standards that most people would understand. Every single character has great motivations, and at the same time have moments where they're not likable or where they are likable. And that's humans. There are things that people do that you might not necessarily like, but at the end of the day, you're still their friend and you still stick with them. And that's this show in a nutshell. You really care about all these anti-heroes and just villains. I love it. I personally love the details of these characters. The heroes and the villains are a blur sometimes, and especially as the show progresses. It's awesome. Technically speaking, also, the show is brilliant. There is outstanding cinematography. The cinematography, honestly, I felt like was inspired a lot by David Fincher films, and honestly, I feel like this whole show was. At least that's how it started out, which I'll get into later. But it really progressed, honestly. I mean, the cinematography is outstanding. There are so many long takes, fast-paced scenes that really are enhanced by, in fact, the cinematography. I love the color palette of the show, very dark to match the dark tone. I absolutely love the score. My boy Mac, his score really gets better as the show progresses. Sam Esmail, his directing is outstanding, especially of the storytelling. The storytelling is so tight, with not only making homages and references to other movies, but progressing on those. See, a lot of times movies and shows will sometimes crutch on the fact that they're referencing something and don't actually stand on their own as something original. Mr. Robot is different in that regards. It has those movie references that obviously people such as myself love, but it also builds on those. It builds those in a way that is really fascinating and done in a unique way. For instance, there's an episode that references like David Lynch's work, whilst at the same time the Pine Barrens episode in The Sopranos. But it does in a way where it's so unique and refreshing that, yes, you see the references, you can't help but get caught up in what's going on. And I think that's a brilliant example of that. Sound mixing is also really something. I loved the sound design of this show. I think it's really something special. Dialogue is strong per usual. Emotional beats for a show that is very cold. When it gets emotional, it really gets emotional. It's very, very effective. And also just thrilling. I don't think I've been this thrilled in a show since Breaking Bad, honestly. And it's incredible. I love Game of Thrones. I found a lot of it to be very exciting and rejuvenating in terms of blockbuster filmmaking. But Mr. Robot feels more along the lines of independent filmmaking. It's careful, it's calculated, but at the same time, it is something that is accessible for mainstream audiences if they dare choose this strange show. And it is a strange show, but it's done in a way that is so organic, I just couldn't help but love it. I want to give a shout out to, with certain episodes, this show is very experimental, especially with how it tells stories. So there's one episode where it's like done in a sitcom, almost like Too Many Cooks. There's another episode where it's done to look like it's all in one take. That was really impressive. And then there's literally an episode where there's a one line of dialogue in the beginning of the episode, and then the rest of the episode doesn't have any lines of dialogue until the very end. That's impressive. And it just, again, comes down to the filmmaking. This is tailor-made for me. It's a show that's very dark and narcissistic, but at the same time, my mistake, nihilistic, not narcissistic. I'm keeping that in. But it's also a show that has rewatchability value and entertainment value. And that's where I'm going to go into my personal story with Mr. Robot. So as you guys know, I first saw the show in late 2016. Loved the first season. I really dug the references to David Fincher's filmography, as well as the twists and turns. And I immediately wanted to watch the second season. So lo and behold, of course, I did. Was kind of disappointed. I was underwhelmed. I thought that it was trying to be too smart, too self-referential to the point of it wasn't really, becoming something I liked. Third season I thought was better. I thought it was good, but I liked it better the second season, but I didn't think it matched the first season. I then became friends with someone. Actually, you guys saw him on the channel, my friend Ryan, our cabbage. When I met him, we talked about Mr. Robot and how he loved it. And I was someone that I saw only the first 3 seasons. At that point, I didn't see the 4th season. I explained to him I was going to be watching the 4th season soon, just not as it was airing. And he asked me why, and I explained to you what I just explained to you guys about my thoughts on the first 3 seasons. He said that maybe I should rewatch it, and I was like, you know what? Screw it. I'll rewatch it. I haven't seen it in a couple years. Why not? I am so glad I did, because upon rewatching, I realized that I absolutely love all 3 seasons. And the 4th season I also saw, first time viewing for the 4th season, not second time like the other 3 seasons. But I think Mr. Robot is one of the greatest shows I've ever seen. Honestly, I'm so glad I saw it a second time, because all the things I had problems with season 2 and 3 were gone. I think each season is its own story, but at the same time builds upon the previous season in a unique way. This is such a unique show. It's like Breaking Bad in terms of just the thrilling aspect, the fast-paced nature, and the way it, builds characters to a point where it arcs. And it's also like mixing Game of Thrones with the unpredictability of the deaths. There's a lot of deaths in the show, as I mentioned, and you never know who's going to die and who's going to live. So it really is like the best of both worlds, if you ask me personally. And I don't know which season I like the best. I love all 4 seasons, and I've come to realize that. I am so glad I gave the show a second chance, because, again, I don't have any issues with the show. Most of the episodes I gave a 10 out of 10. There were a couple episodes I gave like a 9. But upon rewatching, I'm sure that those couple episodes that I gave a 9 out of 10 in season 4, I'm sure I'll give a 10 out of 10, because season 4 does something in the last couple episodes where it changes genres, but then the last episode shows / reveals something where it's like, oh, I need to rewatch those last couple episodes, because I feel like maybe I'll give them a 10 out of 10 now. But besides that, I mean, a couple episodes getting a 9 versus, 40 other episodes getting like a 10 out of 10, I think it kind of adds up to a 5 out of 5 star show, which is why Mr. Robot, the complete series, I'm giving a 5 out of 5 star rating. I think it was excellent. There's like a hot sauce rating, it's the ghost pepper rating. So, as you guys know, if you're new to my channel, I don't give out ghost pepper ratings too often. It's a 5 out of 5 star hot sauce rating, and I don't give it too often. And Mr. Robot, I decided to give it. So, guys, if you've seen Mr. Robot, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Ooh, this is hot. If not, I would highly urge you to check it out. If you want a very entertaining, very different show, but at the same time references a lot of pop culture, films, and TV shows, check out this show. This is a show that is so much more than what is under the surface, and that's why it's a brilliant show. But guys, let me know your thoughts on Mr. Robot in the comment section below. Also, feel free to rank them. Again, I don't know my ranking just yet. I need to watch the show a third time before doing so, but let me know your ranking in the comment section below. And as always, thank you very much for watching with the subscription, notification bell, and I'll catch you guys later.